Hello, Internet, and welcome back to Antiheroes Anonymous, or welcome for the first time if it's your first time joining us. I'm Ethan, and I'm the Dungeon Master for this 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons show. Um, we will have some announcements and a recap, and then we'll dive right into the action for today. But before we get to any of that, Nick, would you go ahead and kick us off for some player introductions?
Sure. Hi, I'm Nick. I play Embers of White Ash, the Tabaxi Monk.
Hi, I'm Kay. I play Lady Elwyn Amelos, the Elvish Druid.
Hello, I am Melissa, and I play Tepetz Wiseacre, who is a pixie bard.
Hi, I'm Zach, and I play Rook, who is a changeling artificer.
So those announcements I talked about. We premiere our episodes on YouTube every Monday at 7 p.m. Pacific time, unless we don't, but usually we do. We, throughout the show, use a variety of custom items, as well as a custom pixie lineage, which Melissa is kindly playing. The character portraits, which you'll see on the info cards all throughout our layout, were drawn by an artist named Krista Porter, who goes by @KristaPorter with 2 R's on the end on Twitter. If you need a refresher on anything in this campaign, we have a campaign wiki at World Anvil, which has a kind of like recap page, which I try to keep up to date with sort of notes about what's going on in the campaign. So that's very handy to get caught up at a quick glance to what's going on. Other than that, you can check the video description for links and information to everything I just mentioned and more, such as some links to Stop Asian Hate and Black Lives Matter resources. Finally, you can follow us on Twitter at Antiheroesanon, and we just hope that you enjoy the show, share with your friends, and come back to watch some more. So, that's it. Let's roll the intro video. Previously, on Antiheroes Anonymous, the Silver Seekers have discovered a plot by the Dragontooth Brotherhood to steal a clutch of eggs from a caravan in 2 days' time. Nyasa, the governor of Port Horizon Shroud, convened a meeting with them and a few other city officials to determine what should be done. It was agreed upon that the legate of Sergil, Kalea Birdcrusher, would be summoned to assist with the city's defenses. Nyasa has asked the Seekers whether they'd prefer to help protect the city and its people, or the caravan itself. But before they answer, the party has questions about Warden Commander Nathaniel Locke's suspicious behavior and other various things that they may have noticed during the council. So, we're going to pick up right where we left off. The group of you have just kind of adjourned a meeting with Nyasa and some of the officials within the city. And she has prepared a sort of a private room for you to discuss while she starts setting things in motion. And so the group of you are ushered over to there by some of the, Citadel guards and attendants that were in the chamber room with the group of you. And yeah, it's there's nothing terribly special about this room. It does have a window kind of looking out over the port, which at this point in the day, the morning fog has kind of burned off. And so you have a good view of all the ships sort of coming and going. But other than that, there's just kind of like a table and chairs and nothing terribly special about this room. And you're kind of left to your own devices. However, it's only a moment after you enter this room, just the group of you, that you hear a knock, like a heavy knock on the door.
Come in.
The door swings open, and standing there, you can see your dragonborn companion and friend, Torin Brenwarm, this big white-scaled gentleman, standing there in his Imperial Warden armor.
I hand tucked earplugs.
And he says, "Can I come in?"
Yes, please.
Thank you. And he, comes into the room and takes a heavy seat in one of the chairs.
Rook holds his hand out, expectingly.
Oh yeah, he hands you back the book. He kind of pulls it out from one of the pockets of his uniform.
And then he kind of like wags his arms like there's something else.
Oh, and then the ring, right?
Yep, and he nods.
And yeah, Torrent sits down and says, "Well, the warden commander's gone on ahead, but I need to follow shortly in case there's things that I can do to help with the preparations that need to be made. But I thought that perhaps we should talk a bit before."
What's on your
Of
mind?
course.
He seems a little bit like uncomfortable at first. Like you remember from in the meeting, it seemed like he was thinking about saying something during the meeting, but then decided not to. And then you sent your ring over, and your ring kind of informed him that you wanted to talk to him a little bit. And so he seems to be still lingering in that kind of slightly uncomfortable state. He doesn't really say anything.
Well, you came here to talk to us, and now you don't want to talk? I mean, come on, let it out.
It's just, well, I've confided in the group of you about how I came upon my suspicions that something was afoot.
Embers nods slowly.
I feel as if the governor needs to know.
He needs to know what exactly.
Well, let me preface this by saying that I just think we need to tread carefully, but the governor should know that to some extent, well, the wardens are involved. Don't you think?
Embers like nods more emphatically this time.
Yeah, I think Rook also nods a little bit and doesn't show any surprise on his face.
Elwyn as well.
Hmm?
But Elwyn's
me
wearing a more
Torrent.
sympathetic expression.
Of course she is.
So, what should we do? How should we?
How many do you think are involved? I mean, if all of them were, you would have been approached too, right?
Yeah, also why? Why do you think they would be?
No, I can't imagine it's anything like. Certainly not all of them, and I can't imagine most.
Embers is just like raising an eyebrow and like cocking her head and like.
Well, regardless of how many are involved, if this warden commander has his hands dirty, maybe it's, you cut off the head and all that.
What? What would make you think that Commander Locke has anything to do with any of this?
Well, it's got to be coming from somewhere.
Of course, but I mean, I only overheard 2 or 3 having a hushed conversation. I don't know why that's any reason to jump to assuming that Commander Locke has anything to do with anything. That's absurd.
Didn't you see him at the meeting? Didn't you think he looked a little funny? We all sure got that vibe.
I confess, I was not looking to him for his reactions for anything. I was next to him and across the table from you. I didn't notice. But
So Torin, to me it's either one of two things. It's either Commander Locke knows what you know, and he knows that there are people in your organization that are involved, or he's also involved to some degree.
I'm trying to remember. I should have refreshed my memory on this. Did anyone except for Rook notice Locke's reaction to the book?
Um,
I don't know. I
I
don't think
think it
so.
was me and Rook rolling insight together, but I rolled really poorly.
Ember's
if I
also
remember
rolled one,
correctly.
and I think that she rolled poorly.
She
But you
poorly
have
the
your
following
own
night. Yeah.
disposition.
Your own
so-
prejudice.
So-
Yeah,
I don't.
can't
but
say
that's just my
anything-
prejudice. I don't have
Yeah.
like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Rook's the only one with like an actual reason, a
exactly.
thing to go on here.
I don't have any.
I mean, your
anything to
character
say
traits
on
and
this.
background are a good reason to go on.
Yeah. Well.
So maybe
I
just
would say that you also
instinctually.
have a thing to go on. Yeah. Perhaps he was just shook by the news that all this has been going on within the city. I mean, wouldn't you be?
I mean, that's possible.
Well, if whoever of the wardens are involved, I'm sure that they're going to try and get in on this warehouse raid. So I agree. The governor has to be made aware, and there need to be precautions made so that the wardens can't
Sabotage the
word?
efforts.
sabotage the mission.
I just
Undermine
can't
our
bring
efforts?
myself to think that. Of course, there's always going to be a few people with less than honorable motivations and intentions, but I can't bring myself to believe that the group of people as a whole who've sworn to protect the city, that they would be in on this as a group. And like like Tuppence pointed out, surely I would have been approached as well if that were the case, right?
Maybe they don't realize. Maybe they're being charmed.
Maybe they-
Maybe.
Maybe they think that they can trust you not to do anything about it.
It's also possible they're going for the low hanging fruit, the people that are already sort of on the fence with these things, and it only takes a small push.
And if they had approached you, Torin, you would have blown the whistle on them, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
You're too good of a man for that.
He nods. I certainly
need
wouldn't have
that.
let anything like that stand if I were aware of it.
So maybe that's why they didn't
Exactly.
approach you.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Well,
But Torin, you were aware of it, and the only people you came to were us.
well, like I came to the group of you to get proof, and I think, of course, now is the time to raise my suspicions about the select individuals that I did overhear the conversation between. I don't know what to do if there's more that I don't know about.
Sounds like you have another job for us, Torin.
What could the group of you do? It just feels like a hopeless situation.
Well, we can start by sharing information if you want us to do something about it, and we can see what we can do.
What would you like to know?
Who the people you overheard, what the topics were, and
Well, you already know that everything that I heard them discuss, it was about the shipments coming in, and it was also hush-hush. And then when I approached, they quickly changed topics, and, well, that was enough to rouse my suspicions, which is when I came to you. So,
but you know who they were,
yes, that much I know.
and are they high-ranking individuals in your organization?
Not too much above me. I mean, but I'm not terribly high-ranking myself. And if you want names, he will give you a list of names of 3 individuals, which I didn't plan for.
Oh boy.
But yeah, he will give you a list of like 3 Imperial Wardens who were part of the conversation that he overheard.
Okay.
And I don't necessarily know what good just knowing their names does, but if that's something that you can work from, by all means. I don't know how I can proceed on my own, so.
Well, we're, I have a friend that's been training me to spy unobtrusively. I'd be happy to follow the Imperial Warden Locke for a little bit to put your mind at ease whether he's involved or not.
He nods. If you think that would reveal something, as I said, I can't imagine that Commander Locke is involved, but certainly if he is, that's a danger to the city at this point.
Mhm.
Well, I think on that front, if you can give us information about where he's going and like the layout of where his office, maybe we can find something out.
Well, he's returning to the barracks as we speak, and I should be after him before too long. It's going to be all hands on deck to get things moving, but have you ever been to the barracks before? Do you know where it is?
No.
Okay.
I could catch a lift on your shoulder or in your pocket.
He nods and says, sure, certainly. If the group of you are ready to move on this immediately. I know I
Torin?
barged in before you could have any of your private discussions.
Yeah. Torin, do you feel like you could make a distraction for us if we needed one?
He gives you kind of like a confused look. Perhaps? What manner of distraction?
I mean, I'd leave that up to you. But I can at least give you a signal.
He thinks about it. Listen, I might be able to, but there's also a chance I may not be at the barracks when you need me to be. Like I said, things are
Okay.
going to be moving quickly. I have a feeling as soon as I get back there, I'm going to be dispatched somewhere in the city. I can certainly try.
Okay. So, Rook will hand Torin another ring and say, just
Yeah, he puts it in a pocket.
yeah. If you, I'll make it do something very small, like vibrate or something if we need something.
Very well.
So you make sure to pay attention to that.
Can I leave it to the group of you to tell the governor what I've told you?
Sure.
Sure
Of
thing.
course.
I really need to be running along at this point. I will be needed elsewhere in the city, so
Yes, go.
Yeah,
By all
stay
means.
safe out there.
Keep
yeah,
an eye
he
out.
seems
Stay
like he's
safe.
kind of like on the edge of his seat, ready to go.
Remember,
Okay.
though, you were recently attacked by this very group that were defending us, so you need to be extra safe.
They know you're onto them.
I'll follow you. I can keep myself hidden. And it's not like I'm going to be any use in any negotiations here.
Maybe you should take Tuppence with you.
Of course.
Were you going to the barracks first?
Yes, I think I will.
Okay. Where's your roomiest pocket?
Where would his roomiest pocket be? He has. It's probably just like the pocket right. It's like right or left pants pocket. So, kind of pulls one of those open for you.
Embers,
Oh.
before you go,
I've got one here, but it's under my armor, and he kind of like gestures toward his chest area. You could hide under my helmet if you'd like.
Perfect. That's better.
Yeah, he kind of takes his helmet off.
Start braiding his hair.
Well, he doesn't really
Does he
have
have hair?
hair because he's a
Okay.
dragonborn, but
That's true.
yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of a when you kind of sit on his head in between his helmet and his head, and there's gaps in the helmet that you can sort of see out of, and also breathe out of, so it doesn't get like terribly.
would you say that Tuppence has 3/4 cover?
I mean, yeah, probably.
Okay.
What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, when you kind of like sit on the top of his head, his scales are like cold to the touch.
Ooh.
Not freezing, but just kind of a little chilly. It's not like when you nestle into Embers' warm fur,
Okay.
At least it's not hot and sweaty under there.
Yep. I don't think lizards do sweat, so probably it's.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is he cold-blooded? Are dragonborn cold-blooded?
I'm not sure, but I mean, given that he's a white dragonborn, there's definitely a little bit of a chill factor there. Yeah. Well, are we ready to go then? Shall we?
Was there something Rick wanted to say?
Yeah, before you go, Embers, and Rook will produce the Wand of Secrets. Say, I think you might need this right now more than I do.
Embers will like take it and look it over and say, all right, thanks.
Yeah, I mean, and then he'll tell her the command word, and then be like, yeah, and if you find yourself in a place you want to see if there's something hidden.
I'll remember that.
Okay.
Thanks,
And
Sarah.
then I'll
Yep.
just nod and beyond and like follow.
Yep. Good luck.
Okay. And the group of you head out into the city,
Hey,
leaving
I'll just be chilling.
Elwyn and Rook.
Well, I reckon we ought to talk to the governor, and I'd like to talk to Turka.
You
Sure.
guys told Turka you wanted to talk to her, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Then, if you just wait here for a little bit longer, by yourselves, eventually, unless you want to like poke your head out and look for Turka.
I'd be okay waiting in the room. I don't need to.
Mm.
If Elwyn's curious, wants to walk around, that's fine.
No. I'm happy to wait. I have better manners than that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then yeah, before too long, the door kind of like quietly creaks open, and in comes this little kobold form that you recognize to be Turka, and she says, "Oh, it looks like some of you aren't here. Where'd everybody
Yeah.
go?"
Embers and Tuppence had to run a little errand, but if you don't mind, we'd still like to talk to you.
Sure. Yeah, of course. I mean, I don't know how much help I'll be, but and she kind of closes the door and comes fully into the room.
Well, you were a spy in
Mhm.
the Brotherhood for a while, so we were hoping you might have some information for us.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing. The notebook you guys presented during the council had more information than I managed to gather, but depending on what
Well,
you
we
want to
weren't-
know, I might know something.
We weren't really asking about their plans or that, but what exactly were you doing with them? How long were you a spy with them?
Not long, a couple weeks. Nyasa got wind that the Brotherhood was, you know, they were moving in the city. They were up to something big, and she just wanted someone on the inside, someone to, you know, try and keep an eye on things, learn as much as possible. And so she sent me in, but I mean, I got caught about a week ago, you know. They figured out what I was doing and what I was up to, and then ever since then I've been in that cage. So, well, I haven't really learned much since then. Everything I've learned is from, you know, at least a week ago.
Well, we were more curious about if you learned anything about their secret warehouses or places they might stash things they don't want others to find, that kind of thing. Or were you looking more for information on their plans?
I was more tasked with finding information on what they were up to, but it was kind of difficult to get, you know, information from. They don't really tell their grunts much, and well, most of their kobolds are grunts. In fact, I think all of
Right.
them pretty much are.
Well, you weren't assigned to anywhere to work.
I went to a couple different warehouses. I've already passed all that information on to Nyasa and her on to the warden commander, so presumably those will be on the list for the ones that they're going to be raiding soon.
All right. So no discussion about where that dragon's breath ended up, basically.
No,
I mean,
no,
it was in the warehouse. The
unfortunately
case
not.
was in the warehouse where we found you. So you didn't hear anything?
No, but I do have a suspicion. I mean, based on the contents of the book, it would make sense to me if, you know, the two ringleaders of this plot, that Smolder and the UNT woman, what was her name?
Sure.
Yes, her. It would make sense if the two of them were holding on to them, don't you think? Since
I
they're
had the
kind of
same thought.
instrumental.
Right. I assumed as much as well, but where can we find them? That's the question.
Well, I'd guess that Kashura has already headed out of the city. Based on the information about where this attack is going to take place and the fact that she'd want to get there early to set up, I guess that she's probably already out of town. Smolder, I'm not sure. I never learned where he holds up, but I mean, he's from Daegu, so he must have a temporary residence somewhere in the city, right?
Some hideout or somewhere, yeah.
That's what we were hoping to find out.
Unfortunately, that's the sort of thing that, like I said, the lower level grunts are not going to find out. And when I tried to push past some of those barriers, is when my true allegiances were revealed. So I'm really sorry to say, I just don't know too much that's helpful in this regard.
That's all right, dear. You've been plenty helpful. And I do thank you for everything that you've helped us with.
I wish I could have helped more, but she kind of shrugs.
That's all right. You can do one thing, though. Can you let the governor know we're ready to speak with her about something?
Oh, yeah, sure. If I can find her. She's been running around the Citadel ever since the meeting, putting things in order. But I'll see if I can find her and send her this way.
Thank you very much.
Right then. And she kind of stands, she like hops back to the ground and walks out of the room.
Okay. After she leaves,
Let's
I'll turn
hop
to
over
Rook
to.
and just say, I would really like to find one of those breasts before the attack, but it doesn't look like that's going to be possible.
Yeah, I'm feeling the same way.
If anyone had any information about that safe house, though,
The safe house? Do you mean like where?
wherever Smolder's staying in the city.
Yeah, that would be good. I mean, shoot, if the commander is involved and he knows, maybe he has some information that we can find.
What do you think we should do about all this, Rook?
Which part? All of it?
Well, the governor very clearly asked for our help.
Yeah. I mean, I'm mostly concerned about our own safety, but I feel like we have the skills to help, and I'd feel more comfortable if we did know where those dragon breaths were.
Right.
But I mean, we can take some precautions knowing that what kind of that they're from a red dragon, so we have some
Right.
information about it. Yeah, otherwise, I mean, this is a tough one.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully, Tuppence and Embers can come up with some information for us too.
I agree.
As you're having that conversation, the door swings open quickly, and you see Turka's there, a little bit out of breath, and she says, "Sorry, I ran back here. I didn't find the governor yet, but I did think of one thing. Just another suspicion. It's nothing solid to go on, but my intuition tells me that, based on what we know of Smolder's part in the plan, that he's watching the governor to see if she takes a personal action. Well, he's got to be close by, right?
Sure.
Near the Citadel, somewhere he could keep an eye on her and her movements. I mean, that's all I've got, unfortunately.
Okay.
But maybe it's enough to start with.
Might be.
Maybe.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay,
Turka.
I'll go find the governor now. Sorry about that. And she closes the door again.
And then Rook will speak to Elwyn again. That's actually interesting because if they do primarily employ kobolds for a lot of their grunt labor, I mean, maybe there's some gathering of kobolds nearby that's a little bit unnatural that we
Well,
could
if
look
he's in
for.
hiding, though, why would he bring a bunch of kobolds with him?
I mean, they still have to have their
They'd be at
operations.
the warehouses and stuff, right?
Huh?
They'd be at the warehouses and
What if his
I think.
hideout is a warehouse?
Then I reckon the wardens will find him.
Maybe.
But I could try. See if
Try
I can
what?
reach out and feel him.
Oh.
or at least feel the dragon's breath nearby.
I don't know. Maybe. I'm not sure we can work off that hunch with that much confidence yet, but I'm starting to think about it at least. If so do we have the information disclosed to us about which warehouses are, or is that still between like the governor and them?
If you had asked that of Turka, she could tell you the ones that she knew about.
Okay.
And then there
Um,
was some Nathaniel Locke said that like the wardens are aware of some as well, so they probably know of a few as well. In
Would-
addition to that,
Would Torin have known that? Could have told us?
Torin would not because he's kind of a lower rank, but
Okay.
the commander said as much during the council.
Okay. So is there like in the room we're in, is there a map of Port Horizon Shroud?
Not really. No, it's kind of a plain room with really not much in it, unfortunately.
While the governor is doing her stuff and making her way over, Rook wants to spend some time thinking if there's some sort of pattern for where they would have either warehouses placed or used, or like, where like critical points in the city would be that they want to release monsters, and then where they could operate from. And he wants to sort of think about if there's like some sort of pattern, or put some thought behind it.
Okay. Yeah. Remind me of that in a second, because
Sure.
we're going to hop over to Embers and Tuppence for a bit, give them some time to play. The group of you walk across the city with Torin. Embers, at what point do you want to try and fade into the background?
Pretty early on.
Okay.
I don't. Yeah.
Would you go ahead and roll for me a stealth check then?
Sure.
Actually, I was going to cast invisibility on both of us when we get close, so that we could enter
Oh,
the
okay.
barracks and kind of explore together.
Okay.
Can
If
you do
you
it
want.
on? Can you do it on both of you?
I can do it on up to 3 people.
Ooh, wait, that's because
Wait,
it's
wait, wait,
your
wait.
it's
Wait,
your
wait, wait,
pixie ability.
Wait. No, just one. I was looking at 3rd level, and I don't have it 3rd level yet.
Yes. So at 2nd level, it's just one person.
Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, I wanted to cast it on Embers so that she could go in with me, and I can pretty much hide myself or be up high or something.
What's your stealth?
My stealth is a +3.
Okay. You might want to give it to yourself because Embers has got a +7 to stealth.
Ah, okay. Well, alrighty.
And then you won't have to ride in the helmet. You can just fly.
This is true.
Okay. For sure.
Okay. Well, Embers. So just to be clear, Tuppence, do you want to be in the helmet or do you want to fly out of the helmet?
Let's wait until he gets.
So hang out in there for now.
Yeah.
Okay. Then let's just have a stealth check from Embers for
Okay.
starters.
It's pretty good. 25.
25. Yeah. You easily blend into the crowds and things because not only is it something you're very good at, but the city is already in a bit of a commotion. Even just the brief time you were waiting in the Citadel and having that conversation with Torin, Nyasa has already been putting things in motion. So you go out into the city streets, and before too long, you're encountering like town criers on city corners, shouting things like, "Governor Nyasa has decreed that the city faces imminent danger. Citizens are encouraged to seek shelter in the dens or take refuge until further notice. The Platinum Parish and Warden Barracks will offer shelter to those in need." And just kind of like repeating that over and over again. And then you go a couple blocks, and there's another crier who's saying, "Governor Nyasa seeks mercenaries, adventurers, and freelance warriors to protect the city. Any capable and interested parties should report to the Thrimsgate Warden Barracks for information about duties and compensation." And there's just basically it's starting to, like the people are like, a buzz with this information because they're kind of gathered around the criers, and there's like wardens representatives there or other city officials there to like answer questions and try and like disseminate the information as best as possible. Some people are already starting to head towards the dens, and you can see that the kobolds must have mobilized very quickly because along certain streets that kind of lead towards the dens, you can see groups of kobolds like starting to line the streets, and they're holding these phosphorescent mushrooms in their hands and kind of using them to guide traffic towards the dens. Like things are moving quickly in the city, and so it's really easy to disappear amidst all of the chaos. You can also see a larger number than usual of wardens kind of running across the streets in various directions in patrols or heading towards different destinations. So it's really easy to disappear into all of that. Torin, as you get close to sort of your destination, Torin says, well, Tuppence, you ready? I don't see Embers anymore, but I presume she's nearby.
Yep. Okay. Let me cast my spell, and I'll be out of your hair, so to speak.
Okay, so now you're gonna fly out?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you roll me a stealth check with advantage?
Ooh, good one. 21.
Ooh, really good. And both of you hold on to those numbers for me, just in case. Torin takes you to basically a compound. Let me find my note about this place to see if I have any sort of description for it. Here we go. Yeah, it's kind of a compound that takes up a couple city blocks. And you can see that the compound has, fencing around it, metal fencing. And it seems to contain like various training grounds areas, some housing facilities. There's a couple buildings within that seem like more official, buildings as opposed to housing complexes. And this entire thing is just kind of surrounded by the city. And it's in kind of a district where there's like various inns, houses, and businesses. But yeah, Torin basically walks right in past, there's some guards at the front. And he kind of has a brief chat with them and then walks right in. And then Tuppence, you're basically able to like fly invisibly right behind him. Embers, you probably have to like leap the fence and scale it at a less notable place, but you manage to keep pretty good pace with the group of them. And Torin makes his way towards one of the more official looking buildings. You can see that the training grounds are basically vacated. And people are coming out of the housing complexes. Like every warden on the premises is moving and going somewhere. So anything you'd like to do in particular? Or do you just want to follow Torin where he goes?
If Torin is not heading to the office of the of Locke, then I'll ask him where his office is, and then head that way.
Well, he is heading towards one of the more official looking buildings. It's not one of the housing buildings, but you can ask him that if you want.
Yeah. So, Torin, does he have like the biggest office here or what?
Torin tries to whisper, yes, his office is in that building. I think if you get in there, you should be able to find it.
Okay, I'm off then. Thank you for your help.
Yeah, he kind of nods and then looks self-conscious around, like if anyone saw him nodding to himself.
By the way, you have a very clean scalp. I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you. Are you still there? Are you gone? Hello? I guess she's gone. What is Embers going to do once you've kind of snuck onto the premises?
I guess I'm gonna go start looking in like the windows of the offices to see if I can figure out which one is Locke's.
Sure. You could roll either investigation or perception, I think, for that.
Okay, let's see. I think my investigation's a little bit better. Nope, perception's better. I'll roll that. Ooh, 23.
23. So it's easy enough. You kind of circle the building, stealthily waiting between, various warden patrols that are coming and going from this place. And it seems like there's a lot of people coming and going at this point in time. And you like one by one peek through all of the various windows around sort of the ground level. And you don't see anything. So you have to kind of like scale up the wall a little bit to start checking the second floor windows. But eventually you find a window across from a tree, kind of situated in the training grounds. And you look into it and you can see the like broad-shouldered, small-legged form of Warden Commander Nathaniel Locke inside of his office. His back is to the window. And you've got this like tree that goes up with a perfect view of the window, maybe like 20 feet between the window and the tree itself.
Mm-hmm.
But if you like scale that tree and hit in there,
Yeah,
you'd have a pretty good view of the office at least.
that's definitely what I want to do. At least until he leaves. Once he leaves, then I might try and open the window. But for now, I just want to hide in this tree.
Okay. And then Tuppence, can you also make me a perception or investigation check as you enter the building? You kind of wait for a guard patrol to come out and then slip in, flying right past their ears as you go.
I got a 13.
13. Yeah, it takes you a little bit longer than you'd expect. How long does invisibility last? Just to double check.
It says up to an hour.
Okay. It's not going to eat into that, but, it takes you a good 10, 15 minutes to kind of thoroughly eliminate all of the rooms on the first floor and then move up to the second floor. And then that's when you find, you see someone coming out of a room and you catch a glimpse of Warden Commander Nathaniel Locke within his office in a room on the second floor.
Okay, so I'll try to zoom in before the door closes.
Could you make an acrobatics check?
Okay, that is a. What is that? Is that a? Sorry, that is a 14.
14. Yep, that's enough. You zoom in. One of the people who's leaving, like you kind of brush against them and, he goes, huh? Thought I felt something on my cheek. Never mind. Not important. Let's go. And he moves along. Yeah, that's right. You smell like brownies.
Yeah.
And yeah, you find yourself in his office. Let's see. I wrote out his schedule of things he does after the council. So let me see what he's up to now. Here we go. After the council. You can see he has a map of the city laid out on his desk, and he has a couple wardens in there, and he's basically going through and like pointing at various locations in the city, and he says, well, I'd like to set up fortifications here, 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 and here. I think that those would be strategic points to fall back to in case things get really dire. I think we could protect these locations easy enough, and so I'd like to see fortifications there. You go get moving on those. And then he starts issuing the next order to another person in here. And he says, we should be getting back reports from the first raids on the warehouses. I want you to make sure that you're there to hear all of those reports and then bring them back to me right away. And that individual kind of rushes out. And eventually it's just kind of him in there, and he's like still poring over the map. Occasionally people come in and give him like reports on different raids and things like that. What do you want to do when you're in the office? And Embers, if there's anything you want to do from your vantage point, let me know.
Still just kind of waiting for this guy to leave the office because I want to search it.
Yeah, That's what I was wondering, if any one of his desk drawers were open. at the moment.
He opens some of them at some point, but he's not leaving them wide open. So you'd have to like rush in and then hope he's going to open it again, you know,
Okay, are there
or like
any,
try and sneak your way in or out of one.
are there any like bookshelves or cabinets or anything that I could be looking at while I'm waiting?
Yeah, there would be. Do you want to make a perception check? What are you looking for?
I'm looking for
Or investigation, I guess.
uh, like anything that looks like it would have a hidden area where he could
Okay.
put something he doesn't want the general people coming in and out of his office to see.
So yeah, that'd be more investigation, I think.
Okay, so that is a 15. I'm going up in the world.
Let's see. What might you find with a 15? You find a couple of sort of concealed weapons throughout the office as you're searching it. Like in one, you kind of pull off one of the books off of the shelf a little bit, you know, that one of them that kind of looked a little suspicious. And you kind of leaf through it, and there's like a hole cut out for like a dagger, you know, in one of the books. You don't find any sort of like hidden cache of you know, like notes or a journal or anything like that. You probably find the location in the room where the warden commander kind of hides some extra gold. So you find a small stash of gold, maybe under one of the couch cushions or something like that.
Fine, I'll take it.
Yeah. Let me see how much you find. How much is in there?
Invisibility, it's got to be worth something.
You're not going to be able to grab all of it with your sort of diminutive pixie form, but you find a pouch of like 66 gold pieces.
Okay, well, I'll take as much as I can carry comfortably, and then I'll remember the location to tell Embers.
How much can you carry in your little pixie backpack? We'll say like 12 of that.
Okay.
I think while Embers is up on this branch waiting for Locke to leave, I think I want to like have her watch the people in the training yard, all the wardens, and see if like
Mhm.
any of them are like huddling up or acting suspicious or anything.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, roll a perception check.
Okay.
Or insight if you're better at insight.
I think I'm better at perception.
Okay, perception it is then.
Oh, that's not so good. 11.
11. There's just so much activity. You do, I mean, you see groups huddling up, but none of them stand out as particularly suspicious or anything. Like none of them are casting furtive glances as far as you can see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
One thing I will say though, with that is a lot of them leave. So after a certain point in time, the housing area, like the wardens, you know, where they actually stay within the barracks, seems pretty deserted.
Like
for the most part.
dormitories?
Yeah, like their dormitories. That area of the barracks eventually gets to a point where it's pretty deserted, and like all of the wardens are out doing something because all hands are on deck. So that is something that Embers would notice.
Okay. Good to know.
Did you have something, Tuppence?
Um,
Kind of looked like you did.
I'm trying to decide if I want to, let's see. Yep, I think I will. I'm going to stealthily, while he's distracted, looking at his map, try to get in a drawer in his desk.
Okay. You'll have to make a new stealth check for that, but you still have advantage because you're invisible.
Okay.
Or sleight of hand if you're better at sleight of hand. That would work as well.
Oh, I rolled a nat 20.
Ooh!
Ah,
Yeah.
So
Um,
that's you need a 23.
You crack one of the drawers open enough for you to kind of slide in stealthily.
Okay, so I think I'm going to go ahead and close it
Mhm.
stealthily, and then I'm going to cast dancing light so I can see what's in there.
Okay. Let me see. What might you find?
Wait, though,
There's a-
does that count as casting a spell while she's invisible?
That's
Oh.
true. Would
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
Probably don't want to do that.
even if it's one of my
yeah,
cantrips? Yeah.
spell is a spell.
but it's innate.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, it would
Alright.
still unfortunately break invisibility.
Okay, well, I'll see what I can see. Maybe it's well.
You
I'll
had-
leave the drawer ajar then.
Does
Okay.
Tuppence have dark vision?
No.
That's
But yeah, if you leave the door ajar, you'll have at least some light to work by, which is good. You rolled really well, so I want to give you something.
Something good.
Okay. Here's, I think, what you find. You find another stash of money, and this one's significantly larger. And could you also roll an insight check for me?
Okay, so 17 plus 4 is
Oh, wow.
21.
You guys are rolling so well tonight. It's great.
makes up for last
Um,
session.
Tuppence, you don't know a lot about, how society outside of the Feywild works, but you've seen how, various humanoids react to large amounts of gold, right? And so you have kind of some concept of what a lot of money is, and this is a lot of money. And from what you know of the Wardens, which again, not much, but from what you do know, it's not the amount that a warden would probably make. Like it's more than he should probably have, just kind of sitting in his desk. So it's odd.
Okay. Okay. And nobody else is in there at this time.
Nobody else is in the drawer, no, unless you mean the room.
The room. I mean the room.
No, not at this time. But before too long, a couple more people do come into the room. And when these ones come in, he says, "All right, I want the group of you to shut the door." And they shut the door behind them, and they all kind of file in. And Embers, you can see this from your perch. Had you rolled better on your perception check, you might have seen this group of shady individuals, but
Yeah.
you apparently missed them.
Yeah.
So this group of 5 or 6 wardens kind of files in, and he tells them to shut the door behind them, and then they do.
As they
Tuppence, do you
shut
do
the
anything?
door, yeah, Tuppence will use the distraction to crack the window open a little bit
Ooh,
so that Embers
nice.
can hear.
Can you make another stealth
little-
or sleight of hand check at
Oh, come on,
advantage?
you've been rolling so good. Come on. Oh, advantage. Look
Yep.
at you. Go. Yeah, that's okay. Let's see, sleight of hand. They're the same, so it's gonna be 18.
Hold on, I'm trying to remember what stat block I have the warden commander using. I think it's this one. Passive perception is great. Got it. Yeah, you creak the window open and it makes a slight sound, but no one in the room seems to notice, and you think you've gotten away with it. Embers, if you want to make a perception check, we can see if you can overhear this.
Okay.
Now that the window is open.
Yeah. Let's see here. That's not too bad. That's a 15.
That's exactly what you needed.
Sweet.
You guys are rolling great tonight.
I
Yeah,
rolled so bad last session.
you from your perch, you see the window just kind of creak open unexplicably. And Tuppence, by the way, at this point, you're probably about halfway through your invisibility.
Okay.
These individuals come in and the warden begins talking to them, and both of you can hear it. Embers, it's a bit more muffled, but with your excellent cat hearing, you've got a beat on it. And he says, well, we've royally fucked up, ladies and gentlemen. And they all kind of look worried at each other. And he goes on. All this fuss, if you hadn't heard by now, well, it's about the Brotherhood. We never should have gotten in bed with them. And the group kind of looks at each other more, and one of them speaks up and says, but we didn't have a choice. I know. They had things on all of us, but listen, the good news is, there is some good news. There's this group of individuals. They were calling themselves the Silver Seekers. They had a book from one of the higher ups in the organization. And they brought the book to the governor. The good news is it didn't have any mention of our involvement. So the governor doesn't know we've turned a blind eye to Brotherhood shippings in exchange for coin. That much we have working in our favor. But we cannot let our mistakes jeopardize the people of this city any further. We really need to make sure that we nail these Brotherhood sons of bitches. And they look at him, and one of them speaks up and says, but if we do that, won't they, reveal what they have on us? And he kind of sits down heavily in the desk and says, well, they might, but if we can nail them good enough, maybe they won't have the chance. Listen, the governor's not going to care one way or another if these Brotherhood assholes end up dead or alive. So look, at every opportunity we go for the throat. We don't allow them to be interrogated. I think that's our best shot. And there's kind of a very pregnant silence after that. Let me see if there's anything else he brings up in this specific meeting. Finally, after that silence, one of them speaks up and says, well, look, all of this is so much more than any of us were told, right? We were just turning a blind eye to some shipments, right? How could we have known that any of this was going to happen? Surely you can reach out to the contact and I don't know, confront them? You're the warden commander of this city. And he kind of slams a fist down on the table and he says, you're damn right I am. And you're damn right that I will. Now, as soon as the group of you leave, and you better leave quick to get to your various duties, but as soon as the group of you leave, I'm sending a messenger Drake straight to the contact and arranging a meeting. And we're going to sort this out. And look, if I have to silence the contact then and there, then that's what I'll do. But look, nobody messes with, and he kind of gestures to the group of them, no one messes with my friends and gets away with it. So I'm going to cover you. Don't worry. And they all of them kind of like seem a little bit reassured at that. And he says, now get the hell out of my office and get to what you need to be doing. We got work to do. And the group of them all stand quickly and rush out.
Okay, Tuppence is excited that she's going to hang around a little bit more to see if she can discover who the contact is.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm waiting for that
play
messenger
out.
Drake.
Yeah,
See if we can follow it.
Yeah. He does leave the office briefly. Tuppence, if there's anything you want to do after this meeting, he takes a minute and then gets up and leaves the office briefly. You don't necessarily know if he's coming back, but he does leave for a second.
Okay, so I'll search the rest of his desk as quickly as I can.
Go ahead and roll an investigation check, and we'll see if you turn anything up.
Okay, so that's a +2, so that's a 17.
17. I mean, you find another couple weapons, that are concealed throughout the office. A couple, in and under the desk, in and under his chair. A couple of them have some like dried blood on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you think you've found pretty much most of what there is to get from this desk.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think Embers would use that opportunity just like to make her presence known to Tuppence in the room.
How do you want to do that?
Climb out a little bit on the branch and tap on the window a little bit.
Well, there's like 20 feet between the tree
Oh.
and the window, so it's not like you're right up against the window. But if you wanted to like take a branch or like a little twig and like throw it at the window or something, you could.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so Tuppence, you hear that as something clatters against the window.
Okay, I open it up, the window up a little more, fly over and land on Ember's shoulder.
I heard
So that-
everything. Are we going or are we waiting? What are we doing?
He went to get a drake. There's a lot of money in there. Holy cow. But it sounds like they didn't know what the big end game was. They were just little pawns that could be brought.
Well,
Just like everybody that's human, I guess.
This does call to mind what everyone has been saying about the Dragon Tooth Brotherhood so far, which is that they're pretty much, bribers and blackmailers and, con artists and things like that generally, which is why this sort of movement is so out of character. Now that the two of you have kind of met up, before you kind of decide what you want to do, let's take a second to hop back to Elwyn and Rook because we haven't been with them in a little bit.
yeah.
So, Rook will glance at Elwyn. So is she like really worried right now? Like, what's her like feelings? Do you want her to roll like an insight, or is she trying to like be strong?
Go ahead and roll an insight check.
Sure.
I deserve that.
You deserve that.
For how
Yes.
many I roll against you.
I deserve that. All right. Well, I got a 7, so I didn't do very well. So you guys are rolling great. I'm really happy for you because last session I rolled great. So
I'm really happy for you, he says.
yeah.
No, I mean, it's not hard to see that she's uncomfortable. But she has and this is something that you've noticed about her since you first met her, was basically that she has that poise and that air of nobility and grace. So even if she isn't entirely comfortable or feeling secure in a situation, she's still sitting there and she seems like very level-headed and poised. But I feel like you've been spending time with her a lot in the past, few weeks or however long it's been. You can tell that she's not comfortable and
Okay.
that she's a little nervous.
So I
But
think
that's not all.
as Rook is sort of, thinking and like drumming his fingers on the table. When I'm guessing he drew out like a little map or something if there wasn't one in the room, and he's like kind of thinking about it, and he notices Elwyn, and he maybe just walks over to her and like kind of rests a shoulder on her shoulder, rests a hand on her shoulder.
That's awkward.
Hey, how's it going? Rests a hand on her shoulder and says, yeah,
What you doing, Rook?
Maybe he does that. Maybe he does that just to kind of lighten the mood. He kind of just leans against her. He's like, it'll be all right. Don't worry about it.
I appreciate you saying that. I'm not worried. It'll be fine. Maybe. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I mean, what's your gut feeling? What do you want to? How do you want to handle this? It's
I've
different,
never-
isn't it?
I've never dealt with anything like this before, and truth be told, I was taught how to protect myself, growing up back at home, and I never liked fighting, but I learned self-defense, and that definitely kept me safe while I was traveling by myself. But until we fought that griffin, I'd never fought anything that strong before, and now we're getting into scuffles left and right, and
Yeah,
now this dragon's breath and facing a woman who has poison that can knock you to the floor, and I lost count of how many times I've blacked out in the middle of a fight just in the past couple days. I don't know. It's scary, Rook.
I agree. This
This
is
whole
definitely,
situation is scary. It's huge.
I
I've never
don't,
seen anything like this before.
and I don't think that, aside from personal opinions, I don't think we would be in the wrong if we took a smaller role in this too. To not put ourselves in that danger.
I think that's incredibly selfish.
Is it though? I mean, it's like looking out for yourself is important. Putting yourself in danger is, I mean,
It's scary,
did
but
we ever sign an oath to protect the city? No. I mean, I'm not saying we
No.
shouldn't. I'm just saying that
Yeah, but it's the right thing to do.
it is the right thing to do. But
And
I mean,
sometimes the right thing to do isn't the easiest thing or the safest thing, but I mean, we've made friends here and we've made promises to people.
sure.
I think we have to help. It doesn't make it any less scary though.
Yeah.
Rook, you hear a voice in your head that just kind of pops in for a second and says,
Oh, jeez.
and certainly if you were to take a less active role, you would draw less attention to yourself, and that's never a bad thing, Vertinor.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought too.
Well, maybe if we can find where Smolder's hiding out, we can give that information to the governor, and then we don't have to be involved in that.
Yeah.
But
I think we have a little bit of time left to find stuff out, and maybe there's some more planning we can do to make things safer for everybody.
I worry about the legate too.
The what?
The legate.
Like it.
Kalea Bird Crusher.
Kalea Bird Crusher.
Berg.
Berg.
Yeah, not bird.
I thought
definitely
it was
wrote bird.
Yeah, I wrote bird.
Berg,
first time.
like as an
Bird
iceberg.
Crusher.
Sorry.
Bird
That's
Crusher is definitely
intimidating.
less.
That's
less
darker.
Violent.
Yeah.
No bird crushers, just Berg crushers.
Governor Nyasa said she wanted to get word to her. And I know she's supposed to be all kinds of powerful, but what if she becomes a target too?
That's very possible.
Especially if all she's told is it's the Dragon Tooth Brotherhood. And that's the other thing I've been thinking about as we're sitting here waiting for the governor. Like, everyone keeps saying that this is so out of character for the Brotherhood, right?
Mhm.
They don't normally do this kind of thing. And I wouldn't know because I haven't spent that much time in this city, but with the information that we found out about Kashura and how she's not working for them, I wonder if whoever she's working for is actually the masterminds behind all this. They're pulling the strings, you know? The Brotherhood's probably not even, like, they wouldn't have even thought to do this if not for Kashura and her people, right?
Right.
And that's what scares me.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot more to this to unravel, and I mean, we're already pretty deeply involved at this point, so we definitely need to stick together and tread carefully.
I'd like to hear what Tuppence and Embers have to say about all this too.
I hope they find something, because that would
I'm
be
sure
very
they will.
nice.
You hear a knock on the door at that point, and the person on the other side doesn't wait for an answer as Nyasa comes into the room, followed by a couple of guards who then kind of shut the door behind her. And she strides across the room towards you, takes the landscape of the room and says, "Where'd the other two go? The pixie and the tabaxi."
They had an errand to run.
Yeah, you're stuck with us today.
that we have some information for you that I don't think you're going to like very much.
Well, I've gotten a lot of information in the past couple of hours that I didn't like very much. It can't be much worse than that.
Well,
And she kind of,
I don't make any promises, but I look at Rook and I
Hmm.
look back at the governor and I say, well, we have reason to believe that the wardens might be compromised.
one of her, draconic eyebrow ridges raises, and she says, "That's a very serious accusation, but I assume you wouldn't bring it up without solid grounds to stand on. So please tell me more, and I'll reserve
Well-
judgment until you've finished your tale."
Well, our friend Torin Brenworm came to us after hearing some of his co-workers discussing the Brotherhood's shipments, like they were somehow involved with it. And he came to us because he was a little worried about it and asked us to investigate. And well, after our meeting at the council, we have reason to believe that the warden commander himself might be aware of it at the very least. So Tuppence and Embers went with Torin back to the barracks to kind of see what they could find out.
You see, as you're telling that story, her countenance kind of darkens when you mention the bit about the warden commander. And she says, "To be 100% truthful, I picked up on your friend Embers' disposition towards the warden commander during the meeting, and I was watching him closely. It did seem as if he was withholding something, or at the very least, a little bit more fidgety than any other time I've seen him before."
He definitely seemed very nervous.
We're not sure definitively what his connection is yet. We're hoping that the others found something. But for the time being, we wanted to caution you against trusting them fully.
This shatters everything.
Yeah.
I need to be able to rely on the wardens right now. And if I can't do that, then this city is in graver peril than I had even imagined.
Well, it's likely that not all of them are under this suggestion from the Dragon Tooth Brotherhood, so
Right. Like there are still good ones like Torin. He hasn't been compromised. But there
She
are some of
nods
them
and
out there.
says,
We're not sure what the extent is.
"Yes, that would be my suspicion as well, but without knowing who within the wardens I can trust, it makes things very, very difficult." You said that your friends, they left here to follow the warden commander?
Yes, we're expecting them to come back here with more information soon.
When they do, please let me know everything that they found.
Of course.
I need to know the extent to which I can trust the wardens. I can't be fighting a battle in my city and be watching for my guards to backstab me and the citizens. I need all of
Yeah.
my focus and all of their focus on what we're facing, if we're to come out of this with minimal casualties and injuries.
We just nod. Helen's just nodding sadly.
She sits down in one of the chairs. She's been standing this whole time, and she says, "I had hoped that what I picked up from the warden commander was not something like this. I'll be frank. Well, your friend Embers, she has a bit of a record in the city. When I picked up on her disposition towards the warden commander and noticed he was fidgety, well, I had some of my guards pull some files, and well, I discovered that, and I'd hoped that was the extent of it, but this is all the more disturbing."
Yes, well,
Um,
Embers does have a tendency to assume the worst of the authorities, and I don't blame her for that. But we're speaking from a place of neutrality. At least I am.
I'm ashamed to see that your friend's skepticism may have been valid in this case, because that falls on me. And she seems truly dismayed and upset by that.
I put a hand on her forearm just to comfort her. And
Yeah, she
say,
kind of looks down at that like quickly with surprise, but lets it happen.
I just say, there's no way you could have known. And like I said, we don't know the extent of this yet. So it's not all on you.
She taps the table with her claw. Well, it doesn't do any good to beat myself up about it now. It's something for me to deal with in the future once we survive this incident. You should know I've already dispatched 3 of my best Wyvern Knights towards the Imperial Warden checkpoint that the caravan is supposed to be passing through. My hope is that they'll be able to warn them, but there's always a chance that won't be enough, and that the Brotherhood will be watching the skies leaving the city and have plans in place for that. So I'd still like to, if the group of you are willing, either hire you at the rate I mentioned to help in the defense of the city and its people, or to make your way to the caravan and do everything you can to protect it on its way back here. If your friends left right away, I guess you haven't had a chance to talk about it?
No, we haven't. But when they return with information, we'll have our answer for you.
Very well. I have things that I must attend to. Things just got all the more complicated based on the news you've just shared with me. So I need to go start trying to think of contingencies to put in place. But if the group of you need anything, please find one of these, Citadel guards and tell them they will find me. Similarly, when your friends return, find me immediately. I need to know what they learn.
Where can we find you?
I'll be here within the Citadel as far as I can foresee, coordinating efforts. So one of the guards will be able to find me. And with that, she kind of stands up.
Wait.
And
Before you
yes,
go, and then
she turns around.
Rook will kind of point towards his map of the city that he drew out, like a little sketch, and he's like, "Where are the other warehouses, and what intel do you have for the Brotherhood at this point?"
She comes over to your map and points out a few different locations in sort of the docks ward, and sort of like the warehouse district. We know of ones around here, but the wardens are supposed to be raiding those now.
Okay.
But apparently now I can't rely on that, so...
Well, that's fine. We'll just take all the information. So, Doc's ward and Rick will start drawing little circles to mark areas.
If you need any other information, find Turka. She should be up to date. I've had her keeping in contact with the wardens as they're conducting their raids, so...
Oh, just recently?
Just recently.
Oh, okay. Great. Yep. I can do that.
Yep, and then she kind of turns around and in like a gust of wind breezes out of the room.
Okay.
Before she gets too far away, but after she leaves the room, I'm going to go ahead and cast Locate Objects.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to try and see if I can sense the Dragon's Breath sphere anywhere within 1,000 feet of me. Just to test a theory.
Within 1,000 feet of you. How far is 1,000 feet? Not terribly far.
It's like a quarter of a mile.
Yeah.
But since she was here with us before she gets too far away, just want to see.
1 mile is 5,000 feet. So
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think you feel anything from here.
Okay.
How long does that last?
It lasts for 10 minutes.
Take a walk
So.
around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
might do that then. I'll stand up, cast it, and then when I don't feel anything, I'll turn to Rook and say, well, if we have time while we're waiting, do you want to take a walk around, look around the Citadel with me?
Yes, let's do that.
I'll link my arm with his.
Yep.
Pull him out of the room.
Okay.
and the spell you cast, that's one you know, not the one from your scroll, right? The one from your
Yes,
scroll was
the one for my
Locate creature.
scroll is locate creature.
That's what I thought.
Which is
Okay.
the same range, but it lasts an hour, but it's also a higher level, so I would have had to roll for it. But this is just the one that I have prepared for today.
Right.
Locate object. On the Dragon's
Um,
Breath.
Okay. Would you roll some percentile dice?
Oh, gee. Okay.
If you're just gonna kind of walk out into the city and pick a random direction.
Well, we're gonna stay kind of near the Citadel, but yeah,
Yeah, in
Just
this
one of the
general
premises.
vicinity.
Yeah.
in the general vicinity. Yeah. Okay. That's at 28.
28. And the spell lasts 10 minutes. So you walk out into the city and you're kind of waiting for that mental ping. You stay pretty close to the Citadel. There's definitely directions you didn't explore, but the spell expires without you finding or feeling any sort of mental ping.
Do we find any pretty gardens or anything?
Yeah, a few. Sure.
Oh, excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Nothing. Well, it was worth a shot.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't
Were
know.
you hoping for something here?
I was reaching out, trying to sense something, but it's not working the way I thought it was going to work.
You thought
I
that
could do it one more time and we can continue walking, or we can just give up and I can save that energy for something else.
you're working off of Turka's theory?
Yeah.
Well, if we do it one more time, we might want to actually leave the premises and go a little bit further. We could also rent a carriage or something and have it go a little faster.
That sounds lovely.
Wanna do that?
Let's do that.
Okay.
Okay.
A joyride.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you guys can find a carriage. As I described earlier, the city is kind of in chaos right now. So it'll be a little bit slow going, even in a carriage, but you could certainly hire one if you want. It might speed you up a little bit.
Yeah, if we think
Maybe we
it'll
could
speed us
borrow a
up.
wyvern.
Ooh.
Probably less likely. You could borrow a wyvern.
Yeah, I can. Oh, I could. No, I can't fly yet. I was gonna say I could wild shape and just go, but I can't fly yet. I'm not high enough level. Yeah.
What do you want to
Well,
do?
do you think it's worth it to try again now, or should we wait and see if we can get any more information? I think this is probably the closest we're gonna get.
I mean, we're already here, and if we want to work with that theory, this is safe as a trip if we wanted to come back later. So I'd say we can go for it.
Let's do it.
All right. So yeah, I guess in this general city block area, are there I mean, I guess is there residential areas or like places we
Yeah,
can
there are
assume?
some. Hmm.
Okay, because I don't know how it's like divided. Like, if is it like commercial on some side or like markets?
Well, I
or
mean, it's not
areas,
like
or is it like
completely one or the other in any
Okay.
specific spot,
So I
but there's
guess-
areas that are like more heavy concentrations of warehouses, areas that are more heavy concentrations of homes, things like that.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess with that knowledge, I would leave it to Elwyn to decide like which area we'd want to target, what we think would be like.
Did we didn't walk through any of them already?
You stayed on the grounds, from
Okay.
what I understood.
Yeah. You're right.
Just kind of walk the
So-
perimeter. So, but if we had to
Well-
choose like, warehousey area or like residential
There's
area,
also
Heads or
like
tails,
the
Rook?
temples district around here.
heads or tails?
There's two residential areas, you said?
No, there's like I mean there's residential areas, there's like the warehouses and the docks. There's like a temple district nearby.
I don't know. Jericho's theory was that he'd be somewhere nearby so he could keep an eye on her.
Hmm.
I kind of was assuming
Is
he'd
there
be, but maybe someone else's.
is there like any like elevation gain or anything that would like
Yeah,
look over the
the
citadel?
Citadel. Well, the Citadel looks over everything.
Right,
It's on the hill that rises up to
but if
look over things.
we try and pinpoint a location that could see the citadel pretty clearly, is there like a certain set of like a district that has a pretty good viewpoint of the citadel?
The temples district has a lot of buildings with spires and things like that. I suppose that's probably the set of tallest buildings.
Do you think he'd be watching himself, or do you think he'd send some lackeys to watch?
That's why I was worrying about the kobold thing. Because I mean, if they're so like, I mean, no,
Yeah,
nothing
but
against the ones
kobolds
we've
aren't their
met.
only lackeys. We saw that at the warehouse. They had a bunch of other types
Sure.
of people.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. But I mean, with that
Someone who could
said,
blend in a little easier.
yeah, but someone who can follow simple instructions, right? Tell me if so and so leaves, right? That's anybody can do that. So I don't know if he would actually do it himself. I
Have
guess I was gonna
have the
do.
two of you left the grounds?
If that's how we have to get a carriage, then probably, right?
Yeah. As the two of you are kind of walking, trying to find a carriage, and discussing what you want to do, there is all of a sudden a very loud boom sound from
Oh,
nearby the group of you. And you turn around and you see two cloaked individuals standing behind you who were apparently, creeping up quite close to you. But blood begins pouring from both of their chests, like in a perfect like line from the same location. And they basically like fall to their knees and hit the ground. And you look, your eyes trace up to where the boom came from, and you see on the rooftops the figure who has been stalking you. And they've thrown aside the dark cloak, and they are holding this like long rifle, and it is pointed down directly at the two people who were creeping up behind you. And this is the closest you've seen them. So would both of you roll a perception check?
Yes.
Oh shit!
Actually,
Do I
I don't
have
really
to roll
want
at
to.
disadvantage? Is it sunny outside?
It's a little cloudy, so I'd say you don't have disadvantage.
Right.
All right.
It kind of seems like a rainstorm is coming in.
Well, and if they're in shadow, it wouldn't count. I don't think.
I got a dirty 20.
I got not that good, but an 18.
Okay. Both of you, I think, see sort of the same details. This figure is stood on the roof looking down like through the scope on this rifle. And that's what it is. It is a rifle. You can both tell that the rifle itself, it's this long, sleek piece of machinery or artifice that seems to be made mostly, at least, of the same metal as Rook's armor. It's got that same kind of like black mercurial sheen to it. The figure holding it is wearing this like dark forest green leather armor that is like tight to the form. And it becomes very clear at this point that it's like a feminine form. And you can see kind of long blonde hair is kind of flowing down from the head, very kind of like straight, not really wavy at all, but it's like being blown in the wind, so you can tell it's really long. The green leather armor suit that she's wearing is augmented by like a black metal breastplate of the same metal as Rook's armor, and there's these kind of like orange, like it's like the suit itself is kind of like a dark forest green, but there's these like burnt orange accents to it in like lines. And she's wearing a mask on her face that kind of obscures from her forehead down to like the bottom of her nose in kind of this like upside down triangular shape with these burnt orange goggles covering the eyes that are almost kind of bubble like. And as soon as she fires that shot and basically like pierces these two people who were sneaking up behind you. She like pulls the gun back to her shoulder, grabs her cloak, furls it back over herself, and like leaps off of a rooftop out of sight.
What just happened?
Do I recognize this person?
With your 20 perception check, no, but I will give you something, which is that her outfit is in a set of colors that's very familiar to you.
Yeah.
And has a specific meaning to you. And then the other thing you noticed with your 20 is that she had on one of her fingers a ring, and you couldn't see what was on the ring, but it glinted
Okay.
in the like faint light that you have.
I see.
Oh, and sorry, one more thing that you would know. Her outfit in sort of the colors and like just the general way that it is put together kind of very much reminded you of something from back home, but you can't place it. Like there's something about it that's very familiar, especially in the mask.
The entire outfit, basically.
Yeah. It strikes a childhood memory, but you can't place what that childhood memory is. You know, it's that sort of thing where it's like something about that is familiar. What would the two of you like to do?
I think Rook is just kind of frozen and staring at where the figure was, like he's thinking, but also just kind of totally awestruck.
I assume that these bodies are pretty mutilated.
They're not actually. It's just as you look at them, it's a clean shot through both of their hearts, a single shot.
But there's blood.
Yes,
Okay.
but they're not
I'm
like
going
they're,
to-
the bodies are other than like the one hole. They're not mutilated at all. You know.
I'm very actively not looking at the bodies.
Yeah.
Very actively not looking at the bodies.
So do you like put yourself behind Rook?
Yeah, I think I kind of sidestep a little bit with my eyes on where the figure was. Sidestep until I'm behind Rook, and then like kind of forehead into Rook's back, like, what just happened? What was that? Who are those people?
I
My
don't
accent
know.
is changing because I'm so scared.
I am as shocked as you are.
I can't. Like I need to lie down.
Should we go back to the Citadel? Maybe we should change plans.
Probably. Who were those people following us?
And I think Rook will just kind of like take Elwyn's hand and start walking back to the Citadel.
Okay.
Rook, as you do so, you get a glimpse at the bodies. They're wearing similar sort of like ominous kind of cultist attire to the people, the lackeys you faced at the warehouse.
Mm-hmm.
And they're carrying these wicked looking daggers that kind of clattered to the ground as they both fell.
So as I glance at them, can I recognize that they are from the Dragontooth Brotherhood, or is it a different
It would be,
organization?
it would be a good assumption, but they're not like carrying anything that identifies them as such, or, you'd have to search them if you wanted to find something like that, I guess.
I guess maybe I do that for a quick second. So I'll just say, hold tight, look that way.
Okay.
And
all
then
right. I turn around.
Yeah. And then I'll just do I'll see what I can find.
Roll a quick investigation check.
Okay. It's this one. I don't find anything. I rolled a 1.
Oh no.
Yeah, the only thing you find is that they have these like crazy sharp daggers that they were clearly getting ready to plunge into your backs.
If it means anything, it was a 5.
Yeah, that's about all you find in the quick
Okay.
moment where you just briefly search them
Like
before
lift them up.
Elwyn
there's
is like,
blood, and I'm like,
"Let's
okay, never
go."
mind. And then I just like go back to Elwyn and
I really think
her
I'm
back.
going to fall down.
yeah, and lead her back to
My
the
knees are a little
Citadel.
bit.
Okay, it's all right. All right, let's go.
I'm like kind of like weak
Need.
legged,
Yeah.
like weak kneed. So like my weight keeps like My legs can't support my weight almost as I'm like walking, stumbling a little bit back into the citadel.
It's fine. Rook is strong.
Is he though?
I would prefer to have tuppence actually.
As the group of you stumble back that direction, let's switch back over to Tuppence and Embers. The two of you had reconvened, you regrouped kind of in the tree outside the office. Nathaniel Locke had left at least briefly, and Tuppence, you probably have about half of your invisibility left, maybe a little bit less at this point. What do you want to do?
Yeah, I think I would just ask Tuppence, do we wait here, or do we go back and tell Nyasa what we've heard?
Do you quickly want to get some gold? If I open the window more?
I don't care about gold that much.
Okay. The other thing is, he said he was gonna dispatch a Drake for the contact. That's important information too. That's something I feel like I could do. I could fly along with it. I'm still invisible for a little while longer. And you could go back and tell the information.
You feel comfortable doing that? I don't want to leave you defenseless.
Yeah, as long as I'm invisible. And
right.
you know, when I feel like I'm gonna pop out, then I'll bug out.
All right.
No worries. Okay.
I'll be at the Citadel.
Okay.
And
Thanks.
Embers scampers down the tree and leaves the compound.
And and Tuppence will use her mage hand to put the gold pieces she got in his backpack.
Well, if you use your mage hand, you'll become visible.
Oh, that's true. Dang, I keep forgetting.
You
All
could,
right,
I
then
mean, pull them out
I'll-
and slip them into her pockets,
I'll
though.
toss them. Yes, I'll toss them.
Okay, yeah. Embers, you find yourselves 12 gold pieces richer.
At least they're not doppelrats.
Yeah.
Doppelrat corpses.
Yeah, Ember shields herself a little bit from this rain of gold that's she's being tossed down on her.
Bing, ba, bing, ba, bing, bing, bing. Yeah, you can add 12 gold pieces.
Okay.
So Tuppence, you hang out for about 10 more minutes or so. So you're getting down towards the end of your invisibility. You've probably got 20 to 15 minutes left at best. And you see the captain come back into his office, but he has one of those messenger drakes, which, like I said, they tend to range from like sky blues and whites to kind of cloudy grays and blacks. This one's more of the cloudy gray variety, and it's got this long streamlined body with relatively large wings for its tiny size. And he says something to it, which if you want to make a perception check, you can try and overhear what he says to it.
Okay. Okay, that's only an 11.
He says it quietly, so unfortunately you're not able to overhear this one. But he then basically takes the drake to the window, opens the window wider, and releases it, and it flies out. Do you want to try and get after it?
Okay, is he wearing, is the Drake wearing any kind of armor or anything that trails that Tuppence can grab onto and hitch a ride?
It is not. No.
Okay.
It
Wait,
does
doesn't
have
it-
a
doesn't it have
relatively
a-
long tail.
Or that tube thing that has like the.
This one's not carrying one of those.
Oh, okay, I see.
Okay, I feel like if I touch the tail, it will kind
It's
of attack
not-
me.
I mean, it's not too much bigger than you. Technically,
so-
it's tiny sized as well.
So I'll just follow it.
What is your fly speed?
30.
This thing quickly gets ahead of you.
Uh,
But if you want to try and like grab it before it gets too far, you could make an attempt at that.
I'm trying to think if I have.
It starts to
Anything
as soon as
for-
he releases it, it starts to flap those overly large wings, and it just quickly builds up speed.
Okay, I will try to grab on then.
Okay. As this thing is about to like leave the warden compound behind, would you make an athletics or acrobatics check? You can take advantage because you're invisible.
good.
Actually, it would have to be athletics because you're grappling the thing.
Okay.
Oh, and you don't have you have disadvantage on those.
Yeah, so I guess it'd be a flat roll
And
for
a
tuppence.
flat roll. Okay, well then I'll re-roll because and it's the same thing. So it's gonna be a 14.
14. You go to grab onto this thing, but it's like a snake. It just slithers out of your grasp and kind of dexterously flies out of your grasp and away from you. But it kind of looks back in your direction in surprise and goes before beginning to fly off.
Okay, so I can speak with the animals. That's part of my innate ability. So I'll try to ask it, where are you headed?
It kind of stops to hover in the air as it hears you say that. It doesn't seem to be able to respond.
I can't understand it.
It's not speaking a language. Do you do anything else? Because it begins to turn around to fly away again.
Okay, so if it's close enough, I'll try again to grab it.
You want to try and like reach out and grab it by the tail? Okay.
Yep, even if I need to no, I can't use my hand.
I guess same thing. You're kind of invisible, so I'll give you advantage.
But not.
But not, yeah.
That's much better. That's a 19.
You manage to get hold of this thing's tail and it goes starts making this horrible like turkey-like sound. What do you want to do with it now you've got hold of its tail?
I'll try to calm it. Let's see.
You could roll. Well, how do you want to try and calm it?
So let's see. If I do anything magical, I'll reappear, and that might not be a bad thing.
Yeah, you're kind of past the edge of the warden barracks at this point. So
so I will can I cast like bardic inspiration on it so it will kind of
if you
say, come on,
did,
let's go.
if you like it, do you want to play it a little song or something? Is that your plan?
Yeah, to kind of
soothe it a bit.
Yeah.
If you want to try that, you could spend a bardic inspiration, and I'd give you advantage on like an animal handling check.
Okay.
As you kind of play a little bit of a song to try and calm it.
Okay. So animal handling. This is so weird. Come on, smell the berries. It's only a 14.
Well, let's see.
Oh wait, animal handling. Yeah, it's only a 14.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be calming down. It is thrashing and trying to get away from you. Can you make another athletics check? This one is not at advantage because it's pretty aware of where you are.
Okay. That's only an 11. Not gonna work.
It like wriggles out of your grasp with this like horrible warbling sound and then shoots off into the sky.
Okay, so he's not.
I rolled
anything.
a natural 20.
Oh,
If-
no.
Escape check.
He's
So
not. He wasn't carrying anything, so there was nothing I could have grabbed with mage hand or anything.
nope.
It was a verbal. Okay, well, dang, we're not gonna find out. So I'll just fly, head back grumpily towards the citadel. Rats.
Okay. Is there anything that Elwyn and Rook wanted to do before Embers shows up, and then shortly after her tuppence?
Throw up a little bit in my mouth. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, I mean, where are you taking me? I'm pretty much
Out of commission.
incapacitated a little bit for the time being. That was terrifying.
I mean, probably maybe just back to like one of the gardens. It's kind of just a nice, calm,
Yeah, if you
pretty
find a
scenery.
place for me to sit down
a little
and I
bench or
collect
something.
myself. What happened? I still don't understand. Were those people following us? And who was that woman?
It seemed to be like they were going to attack us. And then that person saved us.
Why?
I don't know. But Rook is like
Insight
racking his
check.
brain.
Insight check.
Yeah, well, Rook is also like racking his brain trying to
Insight check.
remember or think about who that could be or what their affiliation is.
Oh shit, I rolled a fucking 21, bitch. You're telling me everything.
If you've been racking your brains about what like the childhood memory is that is like triggering the remembrance, there's a creature that is pretty common to Vogma, where you grew up, and it's a type of bug, and they're called night mantises with like a KN, not the N.
Yeah.
And they're called that because they'll arrange jousts and things like during, and like they basically form these little competitions and things during mating season, and they have these little like it's part of their ritual, and so they're called night mantises because they do this. And her mask was very much in the shape of like a night mantis's head, and the same sort of like orange colored eyes and greenish color to the insect. So that's what was triggering your childhood memory.
I see. So I think with that remembrance and then your insight check, Rook probably is just like, I don't know, she was wearing a night mantis mask. You're muted.
I don't know what that is.
And Rook's just like, it's a type of bug.
I gathered as much. I'm familiar with normal praying mantises, but
Do you want to roll a nature check?
sure. Sure. That is something that I'm supposed to be good at. 16.
Yeah, nature's a thing that you've studied like from books, so as part of your upbringing. But though you've never seen one because they're not native to where you're from, it's far too cold for them there, and they like warm areas. You know that they do populate areas of the state of the empire that is called Vogma.
So she's from Vogma?
So like Rook has this look on his face like he just said something he wasn't supposed to say. And he's not, there's too much going on in his head right now that he's not hiding it very well. And he just kind of like nods a little bit like, maybe.
Right. Okay.
I mean, and Elwyn, you clearly saw like the same type of metal in the breastplate and the gun as well.
Yeah. I'm going to stand up, brush my skirt off a little bit, and look at Rook and just look at him.
Rook
And say,
kinda...
I'm not asking you to tell me anything, Rook, really. But I can tell that you're lying to me.
Not about the night mantis thing, that's true. That kind of looks away again.
If you didn't recognize that woman, you at least knew something about her. Is that the person that's been following you?
Yeah, and Rook kind of has this like sort of semi-defeated look on his face. He's like, he just nods and he shrugs a little bit and is like, yeah.
You didn't make any effort to call out to her or anything when you saw her, or make contact
It
or
was
anything.
a surprise to me too. I mean, I
But
didn't.
she saved us. Why would she do that?
I'm still trying to put the pieces together. Like
Well,
I don't.
the easiest way to get answers is just to talk to her, for goodness sake.
It's not like she's approaching me.
Well, it's not like you're approaching her either.
I mean, I'm looking for her.
Why would she be watching you, Rook?
I don't know.
Why is she trying to...
I don't know.
Insight check.
Okay.
That's not as good.
I mean, I am kind of deceiving. So yeah, okay. Let's see.
That's a 13.
Ah, well.
Yeah, not as good.
I got a 14. So I think what you get from that, I mean, you would definitely still get that like Rook does not have all the answers right now, and he's also very perplexed at some of the events that's going on.
I've never seen anything like that weapon she had. That was
Effective.
well, that's a word for it, yeah.
Some might
Brooke,
say
I don't
military grade.
look, I know that you have a history, you have a past, and you are not comfortable sharing that with us, and that's fine. We all have our secrets. I've said that before, and I'm saying it again right now. But if we need to know something, if something is putting us in danger, we want to help you, Rook. We're your friends. But we need the information.
I'm guessing Rook's getting bombarded by that voice in his head right now too.
It's strangely silent.
Is it
at the
strangely
moment.
silent? Okay. I thought he was gonna be like, "Don't say anything."
Rook, can Elwyn roll a persuasion check on you?
Oh, shit.
Yeah, sure.
I'm good at persuasion. Of course, now that I've said that, I'm probably going to roll like shit. Oh, I rolled like shit. That's only a 9.
Elwyn.
Yeah.
Rook.
So Elwyn is there pleading with you, but at this point, the voice in the back of the head, you begin to like feel it like a slow creeping presence coming into your mind at
All right.
first, and it just says, as it comes into your mind, also there's like a slight sense of paranoia that comes with it that you're not entirely sure is 100% your own.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe partially, but it's so hard to tell. And it just says, Vertinor, we've talked about this. Your secret keeps them safe. They can't know.
Yeah, this is stuff I already know. Thanks, voice in my head. That I know
You
what
say
it
that
is.
out loud.
No. No, I don't need you to think I'm any more weird than I am. Let's see. Rook just kind of looks back at Elwyn for a long moment, and he just says, "Okay, Elwyn. When the time comes, if the time comes, we'll talk."
Elwyn will nod slowly, still not fully convinced, but she can understand when a negotiation has reached its limit.
Yeah, I think. Let's see. Yeah, I think Rook he has this look of just like he's like just this mental battle going on. Like he's really like fighting himself right now, and it's very
Yeah.
obvious to
I
you
mean, as
he's just like sitting there like his eyes are closed. And he's just he's just like making those expressions.
it doesn't help that as you say, when the time comes, I'll tell you, you feel a spike of anxiety.
Yeah. If I said if too, not when.
Yeah,
as well,
that's
but
true.
Well, Rook is probably not smart, and I've not been known for being the smartest girl in my class, but I am making the choice to trust you. Don't make me regret that. And I
You
turn
won't.
around and I walk back into the building.
Yep. And I think Tuppence and Embers come back shortly after that. Rook, in that brief moment when you're left alone, you hear the voice in your head say, things with that one are getting extremely difficult.
And this entity's name was How do you pronounce it?
Nyadon.
Nihedon.
Nyadon.
Okay.
Yep.
I need to write myself a little pronunciation key because I saw it in my
I
camera.
did. It's not spelled how it sounds.
Nihedon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, you can just think of the word nihilism
Yeah.
and then, go from there.
I probably mispronounced that too. But yeah. I think Rook just kind of like nods a little bit to himself and kind of agrees.
We were lucky that this person who found you was on your side, or at least had your best interest in
You
this
know who they are,
instance.
don't you?
I have theories.
Me too.
To be honest, I'm more concerned about what you've become wrapped up in with this brotherhood.
Yeah, but it does. If they, I mean, we will have better eyes on what's their face? What's the leader of Sergal?
Kalea Bird Crusher?
Kalea Bird Crusher, yeah.
Berg.
Berg, I know. I said Bird Crusher on purpose. There it is.
Yep.
We'll at least have eyes on Kalea.
And she'll have eyes on you, too. Don't forget that.
I know.
And with that, the voice kind of falls silent. And you can rejoin your friends.
Mm-hmm.
The group of you kind of regroup back in the room that was allocated for you.
Embers, Tuppence. I'm glad to see you're back safe. Did you
Where's
find
N-
anything?
Where's Nyasa? We need to talk to her.
All right, and I will poke my head into the hallway and flag a guard
Mhm.
and tell him basically, we need to talk to the governor. We have an update.
Yep, they run off to go get the governor.
Before she gets here, though, I'll go back into the room. We need to talk about what we want to do,
Oh, yeah, right.
about her offer. We haven't had a minute to discuss it.
Ember's like,
Do we
looks
want to help at all?
Of course, yes.
Sure thing.
If that's all right with Rook. What do you think, Rook?
Rook just says, yeah, the money seems good.
And
Kinda
like,
like half jokingly too.
Ember's just like
he
clearly,
smiles.
relieved that Rook is on board with this.
Well, our options are to stay here and help in the city or to go out and try and protect the caravan. I think it's going to be
Road trip.
dangerous either way, and I'm pretty anxious about either option. But if I'm being honest, I think, well, if everything that we've heard so far about the Brotherhood is true, and they haven't really been much of a threat until recently, I think that maybe Kashura is the bigger threat. And if we can help more in that area, maybe that's where we're meant to go. But depending on what you found out about the Wardens, are we okay leaving the city in the Wardens' hands, or should we stay here to counter that?
We're safe enough, I think. I have some reservations about what's going on with them, but they are going to work extremely hard to keep the city safe.
Oh, that's great news.
Well,
that is
wait until you
a
get the
relief.
rest of it.
Well, does that mean that going out to protect the caravan is where we are most needed, or does anyone else have any thoughts? Would you rather stay in the city? Tuppence, what do you think?
I think the city has plenty of help. I think the caravan is where we need to be. I think that's where we can help the most with our skill set.
Embers?
I want to talk to Kashura, so that's my vote.
Well, it sounds like a majority vote then.
But you want to talk to Kashura?
There's a lot we don't know, and maybe we can help her.
Wait.
You seem
I
to
mean-
have broken Rook's brain there for a second.
Yeah, I'm like, what? Who are we? We're talking about.
No, not in her objective, but help her out of all this.
I see.
Help
Yeah,
her
Rook's
turn
brain
over
is
a
still
new leaf.
broken, still fragmented.
Some people are beyond saving, Embers, but
I
We-
know, but
talking at the start,
we have to try.
She tried to kill Torin.
she'll try to kill us.
That's true.
But we can talk. You can talk to her. We can talk to her. We can
Yeah.
try. If there's a peaceful resolution in all this, that's what I'm going to vote for it all the time.
Yeah, I think like I don't want to get too much into it because this is like we're super up against the end of the session here, and sorry. But I think that like Embers would like recite from the legends of Nusumni and say like even a figure so twisted and bent as her had good in her. And if that's true, then it's an article of my faith that anyone could be redeemed if they want it.
All right.
And also, as you're reciting that, you can't help but think of the letter you received from Mary Miss Brandyman, specifically the line that said, "Whenever the woman chose to extend a hand of forgiveness and compassion to the world that so often wronged her, then she was capable of doing incredible good for it." And those words kind of resonate as you're conveying this passage of scripture as well.
And I say, and I know I'm not going to do this by reciting scripture. I'll need you and I'll need all the rest of you to help say to her, get through to her where I can't. But that's where I'm coming from.
Noble sentiment, Embers, and I will support you. I will help you if I can.
And with that, there's a knock on the door, which is then promptly opened, and Nyasta comes in. And as the group of you kind of tell her what you learned, I think that's a good place to end tonight's session.
Okay.
So thank you all for playing. Thank you to anyone who tuned in to watch. I think that was a really good session.
Yeah.
A lot of fun stuff was done. I wasn't sure how far we'd get, so like I had some combats planned up for with those guys who were going to sneak up on you guys, but I didn't want to do that while the party was split. So this ended up being a cooler scene, anyways.
Heck yes, it did.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Oh my god.
I
I'm in
promise
love.
you'll be able to use your third level combat abilities at some point in the near future. But anyways, yeah. Thank you to anyone who tuned in to watch. We'll be back with more of this Monday, 7 p.m. Pacific time. Hope to see you then. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Night.